Someone texts him at 7 in the evening. Come out, right now, nothing planned. And something in him goes quiet. Not angry, not annoyed, just still. Like a machine that got handed the wrong input. Most people read that pause as coldness, as unwillingness, as a man who doesn't want to be there. Psychology says something almost opposite is happening. That pause isn't resistance, it's translation. And what he's translating costs him more than anyone around him will ever. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the INTJ mind cannot process a sudden invitation the way other people do. What it's actually doing in that silence, what that constant forward planning quietly takes from him, and how the same wiring that makes spontaneity feel impossible is the reason he sees things nobody else does. This man exists everywhere. In every office, every family, every friend group. He's the one who already knows what he's doing next Thursday. The one whose calendar isn't a suggestion. The one who booked the flight 9 weeks out and has already imagined the drive to the airport. You know him by small things. He asks what time something ends, not just when it starts. He arrives with a plan for leaving. He doesn't say sure, whatever, because to him, whatever isn't relaxed, it's unfinished. Carl Jung described a mental function he called introverted intuition, a mind that doesn't process the world as it arrives, but converts it into patterns and projects those patterns forward through time. In INTJs, this is the dominant function. It runs first. It runs constantly. And it runs before anything else gets a vote. We're going to walk through 7 reasons this mind struggles with the unplanned. And each one goes deeper than the last, until we reach the part almost nobody talks about, what it costs. Let's start with the reason that surprises people most. Number 1. The refusal isn't a refusal. He isn't saying no to spontaneity. He's saying not yet. There's a distinction psychologists make between avoidance and processing latency. Avoidance means you don't want the thing. Processing latency means the thing arrived faster than your system converts it. Introverted intuition doesn't take input at face value. It runs it through a model first, checking it against everything else already in motion. That takes real time, measurable time. So when he goes silent after a last-minute invitation, he isn't deciding whether he wants to come. He's waiting for his own mind to finish rendering the answer. Most people never wait long enough to hear it. And notice what he does when he's given that time. Ask him on Monday about Friday, and the answer comes back clean. Same person, same evening, same energy. The only variable that changed was how much runway his mind had. That alone should tell you this was never about desire. But the delay is just the surface. What's actually happening inside those seconds is far stranger and far more demanding. Number 2, he's living slightly in the future. The INTJ mind doesn't experience the present first. It experiences the projection of the present. Harvard psychologist Daniel Gilbert calls this prospection, the human brain's ability to simulate future experiences before they happen. Everyone does it. Gilbert's point is that it's the defining trick of our species. But in some minds, it isn't occasional. It's the default operating mode. The INTJ doesn't visit the future. He lives about 20 minutes ahead of the room he's standing in. That's why a plan feels like relief to him. A plan is a simulation that's already been run and already been solved. So when spontaneity hits, it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like being pulled out of a simulation mid-calculation and dropped somewhere unmodeled. The discomfort isn't social, it's cognitive. Now, here's where it gets more complicated because the thing everyone assumes about this behavior is wrong. Number 3, planning isn't control, it's conservation. People assume the constant planning is about control. It usually isn't. It's about fuel. Daniel Kahneman divided thinking into 2 systems. System 1, the fast automatic one, and System 2, the slow, deliberate one that costs real mental energy. Most people's daily lives run mostly on System 1. The INTJ runs enormous amounts of ordinary life through System 2, deliberately, effortfully, consciously. Planning is how he moves decisions out of the expensive system and into the cheap one. A decided thing costs nothing. An undecided thing runs in the background all day. Watch what this looks like in practice. He decides Sunday what he's eating all week. He wears close to the same thing every day. He takes the same route even when a faster one exists. To an outside observer that reads as rigidity, maybe even as fear of change, it isn't. Every one of those is a decision he refuses to spend twice. He is clearing space, and he is clearing it for the one problem he actually wants his mind on. So every plan he makes is a small act of energy management. He isn't trying to control the world, he's trying to afford it. Which is exactly why the people closest to him keep reading him wrong. Number 4. People read the pause as rejection. To almost everyone else, hesitation means reluctance. Social psychologist Lee Ross named this the fundamental attribution error, our habit of explaining other people's behavior by their character rather than their circumstance. We see a delayed response and conclude something about who he is. Distant, uninterested, difficult. We almost never conclude something about what his mind was doing in that moment. Character is visible. Process isn't. So he gets a reputation he didn't earn. Rigid, cold, no fun. And here's the cruel part. He often can't defend himself because explaining introverted intuition in real time to someone already disappointed sounds exactly like an excuse. If you're the kind of person who actually thinks about the people in your life, not just what they do, but the machinery underneath it, and you're still here, that tells me something about you. It would mean a lot if you hit subscribe. We put out videos like this every week, real psychology, explained in a way that finally makes sense. Now, the part almost nobody talks about. Number 5, he experiences his life in rehearsal. Here's the cost. He plans the moment so thoroughly that he arrives already having lived it. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi spent his career studying flow, that state of total absorption where self-consciousness disappears and you are completely inside what's happening. Flow requires one specific condition. Your attention must be on the present. That is the whole mechanism. And a mind permanently running simulations of what comes next is a mind that structurally cannot give the present its full attention. So he gets the anticipation, he gets the analysis afterward, he rarely gets the middle. And here's how you can tell it's happening. Ask him about last weekend, and he'll give you an assessment. What worked, what he'd change, what the point of it was. What he usually cannot give you is the texture, what the light was doing, what the room smelled like, whether he laughed. Those details require presence at the time, and presence is exactly the thing his mind was spending elsewhere. That's the real psychological cost of constant planning. Not stress, not burnout, absence. He has been at every important moment of his life and slightly outside most of them. And it compounds quietly. Nobody notices a missing moment. There's no crisis, no breakdown, no obvious damage. Just a slow accumulation of years he can describe in detail and barely remember being inside of. But this is the root underneath all of it. Number 6. Somewhere, unpredictability stopped being safe. For many of these men, planning didn't start as a preference. It started as a solution. Developmental research, going back to John Bowlby's work on attachment, shows that children build internal models of how the world behaves based on how reliably it responded to them. When the environment was consistent, the model says, things will probably be fine. When it wasn't, a volatile household, a parent whose mood you had to forecast, an outcome that depended on you reading the room correctly, the model says something else. It says, the future is only safe if I see it coming. A child who learns that builds a mind that never stops scanning ahead. And it works. That's the part people miss. It genuinely protected him. So the planning isn't a personality quirk sitting on the surface. It's load-bearing. Ask him to be spontaneous, and you're not asking him to relax. You're asking him to take down something that once kept him standing. Which brings us to the last one, and honestly, the most important, number 7. The way out isn't less planning. Everyone tells him the same thing. Just let go. Be more flexible. Stop overthinking it. It has never once worked. Jung's answer wasn't to abandon your dominant function. It was integration. The INTJ's least developed function is extroverted sensing, direct immediate contact with the physical present. You don't develop an inferior function by force. You develop it inside structure. which produces something that sounds like a contradiction and isn't. Planned spontaneity. A blocked off evening with nothing assigned to it. A standing rule that says yes to one unplanned thing a week. A trip with the flights booked and the days empty. The structure isn't the enemy of presence. For this mind, it's the doorway to it. Give him a container and he can finally put the simulation down, because the container already answered the question his brain was going to ask anyway. And if you love one of these men, this changes what you actually ask for. Don't ask him to be different. Ask him earlier. Give him the shape and let him fill it. Say Thursday, not tonight. Say we're going, not do you want to go. You will be astonished how much willingness was sitting behind that pause the whole time, waiting for a door it recognized. That's not a compromise. That's the actual solution, and it's the only one that is ever held. So the next time you text him at 7 and get silence, you know what you're actually looking at. You're looking at a mind that's already 3 moves ahead, running the evening before it happens, trying to find a version of, yes, it can afford. Someone who learned early that the future is survivable if you see it coming and never stopped paying for that lesson. Someone who has spent years being called rigid by people who never once asked what all that planning was protecting. He isn't closed. He's loaded. And the moment someone gives him a shape to be spontaneous inside, he'll show up more present than anyone expected. Because he was never unwilling. He was just never given the 30 seconds his mind needed. If you want to go deeper on how this mind works from the inside, I put together a video on the INTJ's inner world that I think will hit just as hard. It's right here when you're ready.